Constitution and the laws of the United States, which shall be made in pursuance thereof, shall be the supreme law of the land. The Constitution is the supreme law, and that's all that we need to know. It's supreme. It's the Constitution, therefore it is supreme. However, the laws created by the federal government are only the supreme law of the land when they are made in pursuance to the Constitution. Is the EPA made in pursuance to the Constitution? Is the FDA, USDA, ATF, Bureau of Land Management? No. Well, what did Hamilton say? Hamilton said, these agencies are no law at all. What obligation do the people of a sovereign state have to follow something, to comply with something that has absolutely no legal authority whatsoever? The only obligation that exists up here, through fear, coercion, and comfort. That's why I say we need a revolution of the mind. Your federal supremacists will try to argue with you that the nullification, the word nullification is not in the Constitution, therefore the states can't use nullification. Here's the good news. That's actually good news, by the way, that it's not in the Constitution, because the 10th Amendment says the power is not delegated to the United States by the Constitution, nor prohibited by it to the states, are reserved to the states respectively or the people. If nullification is not in the Constitution, is it a power delegated to the federal government? Then it must be what? Reserved to the states. What does our Supreme Court say today about nullification? It might surprise you. You know this guy, right? So this is Justice Roberts, the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court of the United States, currently sitting on the bench. This is an opinion that he wrote in NFIB versus Sebelius, which is the first Affordable Care Act opinion. Look what he says. We look to the states to defend their prerogatives by adopting the simple expedient of not yielding to federal blandishments when they do not want to embrace federal policies as their own.
Get popular.
Roberts is saying the states have a duty to nullify. And then he says this: the states are separate and independent sovereigns, and they have to act like it. Hey, Arkansas, isn't it about time you start acting like it?
This is the NSA and police force right here.
So even your federal judicial supremacists cannot argue that nullification is the rightful remedy of the people and their states. Is it lawful? Your federal supremacists, if they're still involved in this conversation, is freaking out right now.
I can be the NSA.
You can't possibly mean that you want the states on their individual basis to be able to decide which laws to follow and which laws to not follow. If we have states following laws here and not following laws there, there'll be anarchy throughout the country. Nobody will know what's going on. You're actually stating that we should allow our states to act lawlessly. No, we're not. Because nullification is not the states acting unlawfully. Nullification is the states enforcing the supreme law of the land when the federal government is acting unlawfully. By contract, the states cannot nullify whatever laws they don't like. If it's a power that has been delegated to the federal government by contract, and they're exercising that contract lawfully, then we must comply. But when they're acting outside of the Constitution, their power is null and void, and it has no force. But if the federal government is not defined by the Constitution, then ask yourselves, why do we have a Constitution? If the federal government is not limited in its power by the Constitution, ask yourself, what is the limit of the federal government's power? No limit at all. And we just must accept our subject status and that we are no longer free men. How do we start? Jefferson tells us, When all government, domestic and foreign, and as little as great things shall be drawn to Washington as the center of all power, it will render powerless the checks provided of one government on another. Notice he said one government on another, not one branch on another. What government is supposed to be checking the other? The states are supposed to be checking the federal government. He says right here, if the states look with apathy on the silent descent of their government into the gulf which is to swallow all, we have only to weep over the human character formed uncontrollable but by or out of iron. When our states simply acquiesce to every assertion of power demanded by the federal government, then they admit themselves to be colonies and us to be subjects of the kingdom. And there's only one way to control a kingdom.